Hello and welcome to Note to File, a clinical research podcast.
A collection of interviews, candid commentary, and general nonsense for the clinical research community.
Check us out at notetofilepodcast.com.
And now, without further ado, on to the show.
Hey guys, it's another Note to File for some reason. How's it going?
Honestly, I've had better weeks. How about you?
You know, hanging in there. Not as bad as yours, apparently.
I feel like I started this year being like, as long as I get through February, and I was like, well, let me get through March. Like, if I get through March, I'm good. And then now I'm gonna like, oh, if I gotta get through May, and I'm just like, well, this is not a way to look at life. I need to like enjoy where I'm at, but it's gonna be a hell of a month.
Sometimes you can just all you can do is take it day by day, you know?
Yep, that's by definition how we live through life.
Well, yeah, there you go. Problem solved. Shout out to anyone in the comments today. Hit us up. Tell us what you want to hear about. Otherwise, we're just going to keep jabbering about some stuff. Today is May 7th.
Yep.
And it is National Tourism Day.
I will be a tourist this weekend.
Oh, yeah? You got a nice little trip planned?
I am taking the kids to Florida.
Nice. Yeah.
And no, absolutely not Disney.
No? Okay.
No. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. See the appeal. Could see how kids would absolutely like that. That seems like a lot. And like, it's a Mother's Day weekend. Me and the kids going on a trip, right? Going to be nice. But I also want to do something that's like semi-enjoyable for me. And that sounds kind of like a nightmare.
Yeah,
so,
that's more work.
Right. So we're just going to do a beach.
Dig it.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Hopefully that's nice and relaxing.
So I'll be a tourist. I'm celebrating a couple days late. But
well, yeah, you kind of technically are late, so it doesn't apply. Sorry. You missed out. So it is also National Make a Book Day. So that's fun.
Do your kids do that?
A little bit. You know, my son was really into like some of the what are the books like the Captain Underpants and Dogman type books, and I feel like
graphic
those are just
novel
like
type things.
Yeah, they're kind of made like bad comics. Like the kids make comics in the thing, so he always wanted to make comics too. So a little bit of that. What about you?
Yeah, that's my son also like would make all the comments, and then like they have sometimes in the back like learn to draw the characters. So he would like draw the characters, make books. My daughter will just like make up books, and then she wants to be read them at bedtime, and it is a wild experience because the story always changes. I never know quite what I'm supposed to be reading.
I mean, it's part of the fun.
There you go.
It's also National Cosmopolitan Day, if you're a fan of the particular alcoholic drink. As well as National Homebrew Day. And National Day of Reason, which is listed as a pagan holiday on here for some reason.
Okay.
It was established as a response to National Day of Prayer. So instead, you have National Day of Reason.
Our world is so weird, man.
We got a lot of days. We got a lot of things we got to make into days. So, you know.
That's wild. Just like it's like, I don't like that you have this day, so I'm going to make the opposite day. It's just like, come on. Like, let's.
We got an equal day representation, apparently.
I guess. Just silliness.
Well, you want to jump into it?
Sure. I mean,
what do we got?
So this is the one I thought was relatively interesting. So WHO, the World Health Organization, came out. No, well, we're not a part of them anymore, so don't have to worry about it. Actually, we should just not cover this. It doesn't matter. It's not applicable to us anymore.
Yeah, if it's not important to America, it's not important to me.
But it's interesting where it goes through and it talks about, and it's part of like we talked about this a couple of months ago. Like the WHO came out and had some like seminar or forum or summit or whatever the fuck word we
Mhm.
wanna use for it, about clinical trials, and this is sort of like, I think, maybe an action out of it or an outcome, um, where they put together a free self-paced course, guidance for best practices for clinical trials, and it looks like I think it's a 4.5-hour self-guided free course that's available so anyone can take it, and the goal is really to set, like, groundwork for better clinical trials, and it looks like covers, like, 9 themes on, like, ethics and GCP and some other things, um, and where is it? I think it's maybe up towards the top where it talks about the concept of it being, like, to help with ultimately better health outcomes across, like, preparedness for public health emergencies. Yeah, right there. Improve research quality, conduct, and preparedness for public health emergencies, which is a I don't know, somewhat timely given given the current cruise ship situation off the coast of Spain.
Nah, we can just ignore that.
Well, I think that one is yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how that shakes out, which 'cause, like, I guess I was reading this I think it's great, like, the more free resources we have, they talk here about, like, this is especially for developing countries to increase equity and inclusion across the board for especially developing countries who maybe need more resources to help bring them up to speed. Um
Yeah, this looks interesting. I'd be curious. I might check it out. Um, Emphasizes real world decision making, addressing common challenges in trial design, conduct and oversight, including participant protection, ethical review, community engagement, operational feasibility, and relevance to public health needs, which I think it's interesting that it touches on like community engagement and operational feasibility, which is not anything I've ever seen in like your sort of off the shelf GCP training, like
Mhm.
I feel like you can do city training or NIHs, but you don't. It's like you do it, but you don't walk away really learning anything,
It's
frankly.
just a box you check to say I did this thing. I feel like that's the same way with, like, all of, like, the cybersecurity stuff where you're like, "Don't click on this link, it's phishing." It's like, "Yeah, okay, great, I checked the box."
Well, I'm like,
Um,
look, there's obviously important to like be mindful and follow ethical principles, but then like how to actually do stuff is like a whole different, you know, ball game. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm actually curious. Maybe I'll
I was I was gonna say, like, I
try it.
love doing stuff like this, and I think well, the one thing I wasn't 100% clear on exactly who the audience was for, because it talks about, like, trial design and some other things, which a lot of the things they sort of talked about almost seemed more so for if you're, like, designing a study versus
Right. Right.
I'm a site. So I'd be curious to see, like, what the content is,
I mean,
but
it
back
seems to be mentioning, GCP. So I wonder if it counts as GCP training. Um, Out of curiosity, I know that like we're at a place now where I feel like, and I don't know how much you know about GCP training, but like there's really previously not been like a standard for what constitutes good GCP training.
yeah,
And it used to be that you could almost kind of do whatever. And, there are groups like City again who have become kind of like the
known
gold
for it.
standard. And I think Transcelerate has like a list of GCP modules that they consider to be acceptable and sort of what do they call it? Mutual recognition under
Okay.
Transcelerate. So, a lot of times I'd have to go check that list to see like, oh, is this module like covered and count as GCP? It seems like that's been somewhat well adopted, maybe even if not explicitly so.
Mhm.
Um, so be curious. I'm curious to see if this is going to fall under that. Here you go, though. Here's the course for designed for anyone interested in developing a holistic understanding of the factors that support or hinder delivery of informative, ethical, and efficient clinical trials. May be particularly valuable for trial site staff, including study coordinators, professionals involved in protocol development or review, data managers and statisticians, healthcare professionals involved in research, funders, sponsor staff, ethics committees. So, kind of a smattering of everyone, it seems like.
So these are the types of things that I always and there's some out there that are entertaining as well, but it talks about, like, decision making and just sort of, like, publicly available resources, which I used to use all the time for my team for folks who maybe had really strong background in technology or healthcare, but didn't really know research. So I think these things are great resources across the board for teams as you're getting into the industry and into the space,
Yeah.
especially free resources where it's not like, for my purposes, it's not to get, to do GCP training. It's to say, like, you're working in the industry, you need to know the industry you're working in. And so I think exposing to these types of things is super valuable.
Yeah. Again, I wish there was something even more. I guess I'd be curious to see. I'd be curious to try it out and see. I feel like we still lack things that are like super practical.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you're learning maybe like some high value or some high level concepts, but like a lot of that stuff just doesn't always really translate to like what happens when you're sort of in the thick of things.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious to see. But I'm with you. I mean, I think it's not bad to have more, free tools, especially, someone like who backing it up. I mean, at least gives it some credibility, or should
Right.
give it some credibility. I mean, maybe it doesn't hold the weight that it did, whatever, a year
I
or
think
two
it
ago.
still should. I think I think collectively, a lot of whether we're part of it or not, still like US still supports who. When I mean, the thing is, this made me think of, I get less, well, tangentially related to clinical trials, but like when it did talk about disaster preparedness. And obviously we have like the cruise ship situation, and there's all this chatter about the next pandemic coming out with this virus. And then it made me think about, like, how's that going to work? How's that gonna work? Because a lot of
Oh,
things that
we're all gonna die. That's what's gonna happen.
but, like, that's why organizations like WHO exist,
Yeah.
and, like, that's how the COVID vaccine was so, like, like, not WHO itself, but, like, organizations like that setting global standards, being able to conduct and fund clinical trials, like, we had all of the infrastructure in place to do that with Project Warp Speed and do it very effectively and efficiently. um And it just made me kinda wonder, like, what happens? And like Fauci said back in the day, like, "We're entering the age of pandemics now," or something. There was, like, some depressing visual that he showed at one point that showed, like, when he thinks all.
Well, I mean, but he was obviously a lizard person who works for the deep state, so I don't know that you can trust what that guy said, who's spent his
Yeah.
whole life in public service, you know? How dare you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and I don't know. I'll be honestly, I don't know a lot about um, the current situation,
Well,
other
so
than some
I
headlines.
have, because 'cause I've gone down the rabbit hole because I was like, "What is going on here? What's like it's the a strain of the virus is one of the few that is person to person transmission of this like general larger family of the virus that's normally rodent to person. And I think like 3 people have died, like a Dutch
Mm,
couple who are on like a month-long bird watching tour in South America.
of course they
And
are.
then and the one of them died on the actual cruise ship, and then their spouse died when they returned home. And there's a couple other people, including like folks in Arizona, um, that have now like disembarked. There was like some people who disembarked on their own and like were like got on airplanes, and now there's like critical people across the globe. Um, Known in the U.S., I think is symptomatic, is what I last read. But like, how do
Okay.
you manage this type of thing if it were to scale? It's a much more deadly virus, which actually probably makes it potentially less. I mean, that was the whole thing with like SARS, right? Like if it's too deadly, it
Yeah, it
kills before it can
doesn't
really
spread so
spread.
bad. Yeah, yeah.
But like it all depends on like incubation period and symptomatic and all of that stuff. I went down the rabbit hole this morning
Fair.
on this, but it made me think when I was looking at that, like this article about what we're doing for this, like how does that work and how would we execute against that for clinical trials?
Well, hopefully we don't have to find out. At least not in under the guise of an already existing pandemic.
Ideally.
That'd be good. We got a comment. It looks like it's probably from a bot, but I'm going to answer it anyway, just for the hell of it. Storyteller with AI. I think YouTube should give captions features and live streams also. What do you guys think? Sure. Or just
I
listen
like
to
how
it,
the picture was feet.
Yeah, again, this feels very shady. I don't know. Storyteller with AI. Uh-oh. What are they getting at?
Just tell
Tell
me
me
who's
who's
reading
reading my
my chat.
chat from both of you.
Because it's listing on AI and maybe it can't tell who's who. I don't know.
Reading it right now, bro. Okay. So if you're watching, then you know. Anyways, Cool. I mean, honestly, I hope that our chat gets overrun by bots someday, and it's just dead internet theory proving itself. Okay, well, hold on here. No, I screwed up. Okay. I found this interesting. I admit I didn't read up as much as I would like to have read up, so bear with me here as I just kind of go through it. But this is from about a week ago. House panel calls for banning China data from FDA drug trial applications. Um, so language was added Wednesday to a federal spending bill that covers the FDA. It would bar the agency from accepting, reviewing, or considering any covered clinical data generated by a clinical investigation site in China, Russia, Iran, or North Korea when a company submits an IND, essentially. Um, that's interesting. The committee said it was concerned other countries would use clinical trial work conducted there to steal intellectual property, or that it might be conducted under lower standards of ethics or human rights, which seems potentially to be a reasonable concern. While the reports don't carry the force of law, spending committees use them to tell agencies how they want taxpayer money used and are highly influential. So
I
it's
mean,
interesting.
it seems problematic.
Which part?
The premise of not accepting data from clinical trial sites.
Yeah, and I have to wonder. Hey, shout out Dan Shell. I'm not convinced that you're not AI necessarily. So, anyways, yeah, and I guess I'm not smart enough to know like to what degree clinical data from these countries is like already part of application processes, or I will say that generally if I'm my site is part of multi country trials. um I really don't see those countries listed often, like in the
So,
trials that we do, multi-site trials. I don't see China and Russia popping up. You might see some Eastern European countries, obviously a lot of Western European countries, maybe some South America, but like I don't really see these in the studies that we're doing.
but I mean, I would say in the
Um,
past 18 months, though, like we've seen a lot about China really like ramping up the clinical trials and like the
yeah, I mean, I keep
scientific
hearing about
discovery.
this, and
I mean,
I
they
mean, I
made like a
guess,
federal commitment with like billions of dollars to like do like to invest in like, their clinical trials infrastructure and ecosystems and like become a power in it. Like sort of like in response to the US moving saying like, hey, we're doing manufacturing and like defunding science. It was almost like you saw China swing in at that point in time and start saying like we're going to invest in science and we're going to
I mean,
invest
that's
in
just a
clinical
good
trials.
idea, right?
Well, in general, investing in science, I generally, tend to agree with. But it's going to be interesting here to the point of like, okay, if we're not like, how much is that data in the clinical trials that's driving any of the data and approvals that we have today?
Yeah, and I don't know. Let's see what else it goes on to say here.
Also, if it's like a major pharma company and they're concerned about like the quality, like I'm assuming that the pharmaceutical companies are still having the same level of oversight and expectation for the data and how those sites are run. Like, yes, I know we have a distrust with those particular countries at a national level, but like if they're conducting at the research sites through global sponsors, it seems like the oversight would cover that.
Yeah, and this is where I think it gets a little bit of interesting because a lot of this is about whatever U.S. dominance, right? Like that's what we all want. America lead the way, red, white, and blue. America, rock, flag, eagle. Representatives from biotech industry flagged that these reforms won't appreciably make the U.S. more competitive because companies often replicate first in human studies in the U.S. if they see first evidence abroad. When investors are looking at data, they don't necessarily mean it has to be FDA reviewable, as some fancy investor guy says. They're happy to put a tremendous amount of money behind that to redo those studies in the U.S. You think that's true? I think they
Yeah,
love
I
to.
don't know. I don't think they probably love it. And we talk about like trying to make clinical trials more efficient and the billions of dollars we spend doing this. Like, hey, just redoing something to do it in the US, like, seems a little backwards if we're talking about that shit.
Yeah. I want to read up a little bit more about this too. The FDA has begun to take steps to speed R&D in the US, which we've seen, at least
In real time.
ostensibly, I guess, steps to make it faster. And again, I don't know that that's clear yet. There seems to be at least be some, valid criticism coming out about that. And looking to truncate the drug development timeline across early and late stage studies. One proposal, a pilot program to mirror the clinical trial notification system in Australia, was backed by House appropriators in their bill report. So I'm actually curious to look into that. Definitely not going to read this
That looks like a
for sure.
just formatted hellaciously.
I didn't pull it up. I kind of wanted to take a look at the like I don't know if you've looked. Are there public comments on the real time clinical trials like movement thing? I know previously we've been able to sometimes see.
So actually, I think it's on next Friday, like a week from now. Maybe I think that's when it is. There's like a open Q&A session that they posted.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
FDA like open Q&A from like 11 to 1 or I don't know, middle of the day sometime next Friday. I just saw sort of in passing like the FDA posted it on LinkedIn. So it's gonna have like open Q&A, but I also think that's part of what the RFI is that's due at the end of the month.
Right.
Is
yeah,
like,
I know there is an open comments like section, or at least a place to make comments.
mm-hmm.
I wanted to go check those out a little bit, but I'm not prepared to do that. But let's take couple other comments here. What's up, Emerson? China has a pretty advanced research infrastructure, doesn't it? So it is odd they're on the list. If the data had ethical questions or quality questions, then that could be addressed directly. You would think so, but I think your second comment, are they just trying to signal that they don't want the clinical research work to move offshore? I mean, I'm assuming that has more to do with it, don't you think? A way to encourage them to do trials in the US, even ironically, if it takes longer and costs more money, like, but
I mean, it's
by golly,
like
America is going to be the one to do it. So,
well, I think it's also like a threat component of it, right? Like, there's a lot of money in drug development, healthcare, etc. And so I think it's a play,
especially here.
Well, but I think it's a play to say no. We're going to keep our money here. We're not going to send our trials. Like, we're going to de-incentivize the dollars to be spent in those particular countries because we politically don't align on like a national level.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I wonder again if like, again, this is a complicated question, but why don't we make it? I mean, there obviously must be advantages to doing those trials elsewhere.
Well, I mean, a lot of what I've heard is that like it's really difficult to meet some of your diversity and inclusion requirements if you try to just do it in the US. So like if you need to have a certain number of
But we're a melting pot. How can that be?
Weirdly, that's not actually the demographics of the United States.
Fair enough.
But I think it has to do with like a certain number of like folks with Asian descent. Well, probably makes sense. Easiest to do that in Asia, but if we're cutting out China, which has, what I'm saying, like, so like that's like doing things over in those other countries has some other benefits as far as like populations are concerned of folks they're trying to test on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It seems weird that a country that's so founded on the idea of open free markets would be like, yeah, but only if it's here, though. Not so it's not really that much of a free market then. If you can't take data from other places who have made it easier and maybe more inexpensive to do that.
Who are investing in clinical trials, so they're at a national
level. They're trying to have it both ways. They're trying to defund clinical trials and research, but also make sure no one else does it. It's got to be done here.
Well, it's like, I don't know. It kind of feels like when like a kid has a toy and they don't play for it in a while, and then another kid's like, I want to play with that toy. You're like, nah, but that's my toy. I haven't taken care of it, and I haven't played for it within a while. But that's my toy, so leave it alone.
That's a fair point. Also, storyteller with AI who claims they're not AI. My apologies. I'm going to listen on 1.5 speed. You have to wait till we're done, and then you can listen. Or we could talk faster next time.
So I know this is strange. Folks won't know this. I talk relatively quickly, uh, so I can
I talk slowly.
so I can only imagine the experience of listening to me on a multi a multiple. Sounds unadvisable, but
Frightening.
you do you, boo.
Okay. Anything else exciting?
No, I'm getting ready to go on vacation mode, so no. Next week, though, we have actually a guest on Tuesday.
Yeah, we do. I guess I need to like schedule that. Why don't you
You know,
talk about that?
yeah, so we have Joe O'Rourke coming on next Tuesday. He's at WCG now. He's focused specifically on like study startup stuff. But really great background. I mean, been in the industry for a minute, or had worked at Walgreens for a period of time. Was at WCG prior, back at WCG. So excited to have him on. And
Just a great guy. We just
yeah.
like him. Here, I'm gonna pull this up just because I found it, and if you got time,
I got time.
we'll take a few cracks at it. So these are the publicly available comments from the RFI for AI-enabled optimization of our early phase clinical trials pilot program.
I mean, I should see who's all throwing their names in.
Yeah, so far not a ton, or at least not. I mean, people I recognize, other than Massive Bio, I'm familiar with. Honestly, maybe this is a bad idea because it looks really fucking boring.
So I find these things interesting, similar to honestly like LinkedIn comments sometimes, where people will pose a question and then the public comments come in or the comments come in and it's a bunch of people shilling whatever they're selling.
Yeah. Well, this talks about, Massive Bio saying what they are. Their central recommendation is the FDA should design this pilot as a regulatory grade, human governed, AI enabled trial orchestration program, not
Jesus
a narrow
Christ.
model evaluation or a sponsor only operational experiment, which I will say it does feel that way. Would you agree? I mean, it seems like a sponsor only operational experiment.
I mean, 100%.
Or two.
That's who they trotted up on stage, right?
Yes,
Like
two sponsors. Yeah. The pilot should evaluate the full chain of early phase trial performance. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so interesting. Not bad feedback. Any of these people look familiar to you at all? Sunglow Innovations LLC.
yeah, no idea.
Yeah, maybe we'll skip this, but I'm going to keep an eye on these because I'm sure there'll be a lot more to come. And it looks like there were like 15, but this is only showing 7. I don't think everyone. Maybe you can pick whether or not you want them to
They're like
be
public or not.
Yeah. This guy wants them to include Alzheimer's disease as a priority therapeutic area, which fair. I mean, do you think it's a
This is where I struggle with public comments. I'm going to be really honest. Like, it's people either trying to sell what they make, or it's people like, this is important to me, so I'm going to like they focus way too much on like this is me and my mirror and my vision and what I want it to include, and less like what should this include if I take a step back and think about what it should include, instead of being like this is my personal, and again, always space for personal lived experiences, what's important. That should drive this, but I think you kind of get lost in that at some point because it's everyone sort of saying like this is what it should be, this is what I sell, this is important to me, and it's not like no one's going to take the time and actually sift through that and be like we're going to thoughtfully pull this all together and find all the themes and like.
Well, I do wonder though, like, and that, I mean, of course he's asking about Alzheimer's. It's fine, but I think, do you think it's a bad idea, or maybe they've made it more challenging out of the gate by doing it in oncology, where, I mean, look, enrollment generally not super high. There's a lot of data points there. There are can be very messy. There's a lot of scrubbing, there's a lot of fixing, there's a lot of querying. Seems like a weird place to start. I mean, I know, oncology is like oftentimes what, we think about when we think of clinical trials, but I don't know. It seems like a ambitious place to start.
Well, and I think it also depends on what they're trying to prove. If their first model where they're like pushing paradigm and the connection with EHRs to their like EHR connectivity in relation to clinical trials makes for oncology is where it makes a decent amount of sense because the clinical trials become clinical care, and so it should be in the EHR, and so there's a lot of data points that you need to pull.
Mm-hmm.
So if the point is EHR integration, oncology is not a bad idea. To prove their point seems terribly misguided. It's under the same guise as like when site networks are like, I want to get to oncology because hey, like this is where most of the funding is, so I want to get into it without realizing
real hard
the complexities.
And also, I mean, I think again, I understand like these press releases aren't meant. I've tried to get the guy from Paradigm on. Maybe I'll try to reach out to him again, just because I've heard a lot of claims about this. Like it's going to increase access. Someone in the press conference mentioned like this is amazing for clinical research coordinators and provides a more career development and a career path for them, which didn't seem. I don't see the connection between those things depending on what is actually going on here. But it sounds like, entering data straight into the Paradigm system is what's getting streamed to the FDA, which is also weird. I mean, obviously Paradigm spent a bunch of time raising a bunch of money, being kind of dark, and then all of a sudden they like emerge and they have this relationship that's a perfect solution for what the FDA is trying to tackle. It just seems weird, and I'd be curious to know more. I mean, again, I'm gonna
Marty invests in Paradigm.
Well, obviously, I mean, I know I talk shit, but like I want to have like assume good intention here, which I mean, there probably is good intention, but it just seems strange to me.
It's unclear.
Yeah. A lot of it seems bizarre, but I will say I'm glad because when it first came out, I mean, I said this before, but it was just everybody sort of clapping about how much of a huge move towards innovation this is, and I just was like, is it? I don't understand. And now at least people are coming out and being a little bit more critical about like, okay, this is a thing, but like, do sponsors want this? Is it a good idea? Is there unblinding? Is getting the data early actually a good thing?
Well, to your point, if they're piloting in oncology, like there's a lot that's going to have to happen. That's not just like transmission of data, especially in oncology.
Yeah, agree. Shout out Jonathan, always making good comments here. It looks like there was a podcast in April examining the shift in global drug development and the structural changes driving it. Might have to check that out a little bit. Something seems to come up frequently that we talk about.
Mm-hmm. There's quite a bit. I mean, the UK is doing a big push on study startup acceleration. China's made a lot of investments in some of that like infrastructure commitment. I mean, Mexico did a while back as well, where they committed billions of dollars to accelerate clinical trial.
Yeah, well, that data is no good for us. We don't like that data. We only want our data.
Only want our data, yeah.
So, all right. Well, Tuesday, Joe O'Rourke, as you already mentioned.
Yeah, it's the plan.
We'll have some more people coming up here over the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned. And yeah, thanks for listening, dudes.
Catch you next week.
Thanks for listening to Note to File. We're committed to continuing to bring you independent and unfiltered coverage of the clinical trial industry.
We want to talk about what you want to hear. So if you have something on your mind, hit us up at notetofilepodcast.com.